Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Smackdown review. This is going to be an interesting review because of what happened on Raw this week. Well, last week actually. How well did they recover from that horrible Raw? Now let's see what we got. First, we have the Big Show coming to the ring and basically saying, "Look at who I knocked out with my WMD," and he showed a whole bunch of people: The Miz, Chris Jericho, John Cena. The list was big, and he's basically saying this is an elite group of people who's joined my list of WMD participants. Well, not those many words, but pretty much he's saying that. I'm saying, you know what? How long is the list of people who didn't get it? He basically has knocked practically everybody out. So that list was supposed to be very exclusive. It's very big. But taking away from that, we have Sheamus, who comes out afterwards, and he says, "Fella, you were right. I was joking around during that debate, but now I want to just say, may the best man win," and sticks his hand out. And I didn't expect Big Show to shake his hand. He didn't. He just walked away. But then Sheamus started messing with him again, doing the same thing as he did in the debate. The only thing is this time he used video, which showed him and the big man Mark Henry. And for Smokey, I hope Mark Henry comes back because I miss Big Sexy Chocolate. That sounds a little weird from a guy saying that, but you know what? That's what he was called. Big Sex. I can't remember his exact name, but it was part of it was chocolate. So I'm just gonna leave it as that. But showing basically Mark Henry knocking him out, getting the win from basically Daniel Bryan, you know the routine, and then he shows also about what happened at WrestleMania, 18 seconds compared to 45 seconds of his. Now the thing that I thought might turn into a brawl would be that when the Big Show goes back into the ring, I thought if he's going to shake his hand, he would hit him. But Sheamus basically does the same thing as Mark Henry. Sorry, not Mark Henry. Does the same thing as Big Show. I got Mark Henry on the mind. I'm hoping the man comes back soon. I want to see him go after the championship just like Smokey. But essentially, Sheamus does what basically Big Show does. He walks out of the ring. So they're still looking like they're trying to keep these two separate long enough so when Hell in a Cell comes around, it'll be more interesting. And I can say that the way they've been doing things for a very long time, they don't usually do this. They did it with John Cena and they did it with The Rock. And that was mainly because John Cena and The Rock really weren't interacting much because you know how The Rock was doing his movies and John Cena was basically doing his stuff in the ring. So I can say at least in this respect, they're still trying to do something more old-fashioned. Don't have the participants in a pay-per-view come at one another. Have them stay separate. Have them stay completely separate from one another. If there has to be any type of interaction of physicality, let it be very small, very brief. So it's okay. Next, we have another match that's for the WWE Tag Team Champions, Primetime Players against Kofi and R-Truth. And I realized with Kofi and R-Truth, they've had their run. I didn't expect them to win this, and I was right. Basically, Eric Young wins over Kofi. Kofi of all people. Who basically, I feel that Kofi right now, I honestly think I'm going to have to do a video on Kofi because I really feel sorry for the guy. Ever since 2009, what happened with Randy Orton, he has been trapped in mid-card position for so long. He's held the tag team titles more than anyone. He's held I don't know if he's held the U.S. Championship. I have to do research on it. I know he's held the Intercontinental Championship at least more than a few times. He has been basically stuck in mid-card for so long that he's the go-to guy for either winning the tag team championships or winning the IC belt and jobbing. And it feels terrible that this guy should be treated this way. He deserves a little better than this. He has talent. So instead of letting R-Truth, who really hasn't won that many titles, other than the tag team championships, it would have been better for him to do it. Unless they're going to do some type of swerve where maybe Kofi and R-Truth are going to go at one another, This would make some sense when we see this next Raw and next Smackdown. That's the only thing I could think of why Kofi might have jobbed here. Because now they're no longer in the tournament for the new Tag Team Championship. New Tag Team Championship tournament they're doing. If there's no Swerve, then honestly it was a waste. R-Truth could have done the job. It didn't have to be Kofi. Now, we had a small segment with Ryback, his promo, leading up to his match, which was with Primo. Now, Primo and Epico, you already know they're no longer in tag team tournament. They gave them something to do, and Primo is the one who did the job here. And Ryback did a much better job than he did when it was on that Raw, where he could not put Tensai on his back, and he didn't just try twice. I understand someone said that he did it 3 times. I wasn't probably being that observant, so I did look and looked like he did try 3 times to pick up Ryback before he just used a clothesline. This time around, he did a better job. The people were into him, and I'm going to leave it at that. He did his regular splash, Samoan drop. He did all right. And I still believe that, and I'll say this at the end of the show, end of this review, about about Ryback. I will tell you how I feel about Ryback again, as I did in my last review. So let's move on to the first backstage, where we have basically Paul Heyman and Punk looking for Dolph. And in both backstage segments, once Dolph was found with Vicky, basically Punk is saying, "You screwed me." Basically, Dolph said, "You screwed me." One was called a worm. Another one was called an old lady, who was their partners. And what I saw in this promo, which might have been a bit interesting, when Dolph said, "You need to prove that you're the best. Don't say it. Don't expect it. Because I go out there every day and prove it." That gave me hints that maybe this might be actually time that they may try to turn him face. And I'll explain that later in this review, but I'm going to leave it at that. Now, we had another backstage with, I think I'll do the match with the Divas first. Okay, you have Layla and Fox, Alicia Fox, and I think that Alicia Fox is going to be their because I'm not liking this. Look, you can say a lot about Alicia Fox. She doesn't have great in-ring ability. She's not that good. Understandable. She doesn't really cut great promos. Whenever they let a diva do one, it's very rare. But essentially speaking, Alicia Fox has been around for a bit of a time. She has been a Divas Championship and had a Divas Championship at one time. And the way things are going, I believe once Beth Phoenix and Kelly Kelly are gone, this is why I understand they're going, Alicia Fox is going to be the one they're going to have job constantly. It would make some sense the way they've been booking her, where they show her all the time. Yeah, she had a couple of wins, but I have a feeling they're going to have her job a lot. And when she went up against Layla, which I have to say she showed a little bit more better in-ring ability when she tried to, I think it might have been not really much of a submission, but it was a hold that's supposed to make people have pain if they got a bad leg. She showed that. Now that makes me think that she has some potential, if they train her better, to be a decent wrestler. But I also believe that she's going to be a jobber from now on. They're going to be exclusively jobbing her all the time, like they did with Beth and then like they did with Natalya. So Fox loses, and then basically Layla has a little promo segment saying, with Matt Striker in the ring, which was nice, basically Eve is just tricking and deceiving everybody, and when I win this belt at Hell in a Cell, it's going to make it so much better. And it's left at that. Now, when it comes to the backstage, when it came with Teddy Long and with Eve, and Eve basically being told by Teddy Long, "Who the hell you think you are trying to say that I'm the one that said it? You know I didn't." And basically go back and forth before Booker T comes in. The thing that makes it, as I said in many videos, a few videos before, saying that I believe that Eve is making a situation where Teddy's going to be expelled, is when Teddy says, if I was still running Smackdown, as he would say, if I was running Smackdown, you would have been hitting the door. You feeling me? And at the last moment, that's when Booker T comes in, tells Eve to leave, and pretty much Booker T and Teddy have it out, saying simply, I don't like how this is going between you and Eve. It's got to stop right now. I need to have a proper staff. This makes me feel that within the next couple of Smackdowns, Teddy's going. Or there's going to be a showdown between Teddy and Eve, where I believe Eve is going to win this. I believe Eve is still trying to work her way up into becoming basically Booker T's second right-hand man, basically. Be his right hand, and then screw him enough to become the new GM. And I don't believe they're going to allow Booker T to have a year with this. And that's sad. I believe Booker T makes a great GM. I was hoping they let him stay there long, and I'm hoping wrong. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I'm wrong about this. But if I'm not wrong, and they're about to position Eve as the GM for SmackDown, where already they have a GM for Raw who sucks beyond reason in AJ, this is going to be a very weird situation that we're going to have to compare AJ's performance against Eve's. And the way AJ is compared to Eve, we probably have it better with Eve than AJ. And that makes me think that maybe Eve is trying to position herself to be into the Age show. I'll probably keep doing this as time goes on between the two shows, SmackDown and Raw, what's going on with Eve, but I'm going to leave it at that. Now, the next was, okay, you have David Otunga coming out, and he says, basically, I wish to thank ADR, Alberto Del Rio. Thank you very much for beating the crap out of Randy Orton. Because, as many people have seen, if you don't go to WWE.com to look at their WWE.com exclusive stuff, after either SmackDown or Raw, Randy Orton basically got his ass handed to him. Now, we did see some of this on television, but they didn't show all of it. They just edited right when the beating was outside the ring. Now, David Otunga thanks him, and then you hear Randy Orton's music hit. And I'm thinking, oh, that didn't last long. But ADR comes out acting as Randy Orton, which I have to admit was an interesting touch. He had the same look, the same walk, even when he gets to the turnbuckle in the ring and does the same pose. I like that. Mocking the face. At this moment, Randy Orton is the face, is nice. I'm hoping that Randy Orton didn't do something foolish and get himself in some trouble. I'm hoping that. Or he actually got injured because of what was going on before with Big Show. I'm hoping that didn't happen. But essentially speaking is this, ADR and David Otunga in the ring saying that Randy Orton is done, he ain't coming back. And ADR saying, I am now the Apex Predator. It would have been nice to end it there. But once you have Booker T come out, I said, oh no, there got to be some type of swerve. Maybe Randy Orton's coming back. No. Kane and Daniel Bryan. Why? You didn't need this match. I thought maybe there might be a swerve where maybe David Otunga and ADR win, and they put themselves, even though they are not in the tournament, they could have been a wild card. If they have been allowed to win this, honestly, would have been refreshing, would have been something different. Get ADR out of the title picture right now, what's going on with Sheamus, because he's done it enough times. Let him go into the tag team tournament in a sense. Let him and David Otunga, and you can say whatever you want with David Otunga, whatever. But at least they would have them doing something. So it would have been nice to have them as a wild card. They could have been the one to face the last two teams at the finals of this tournament. And after that last team wins, they could have gone up against them, and it would have made it more interesting for Hell in a Cell. But they didn't do that. They jobbed. Basically, Kane gets over on, I don't even know who he got over on. I don't really care. If it was Kane who got over. Who was it? Who won that match? I don't know. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Bryan wins over David Otunga. Why? Nothing there. He does a headbutt. I just remembered he does a headbutt from the top rope. You see how this was not that interesting. I mean, it gives a little bit more of appearance for Daniel Bryan and Kane. I understand that you're tag team champions. I'm not complaining totally about this, but essentially it would have made it more interesting. It would have. Now, the next thing that is interesting was Sheamus and Miz. Now, this match, I really thought the way it started with Sheamus not getting his entrance music, I thought the Miz would come out first because he's Intercontinental Champion, but it was Sheamus, and he didn't get his music hit. The end of it we heard, and I thought, wait a minute, this got to be a swerve. Could Miz actually be winning this? Now, I wish to say that the match was not bad at all. It was a back and forth. Of course, Miz is beginning to lose at the very end, but who comes out is the Big Show. Now, I thought, oh, the Big Show is going to start fighting with Sheamus and mess with him, but he actually knocks out the Miz. So, technically, Miz does not job, but jobs at the same time, which is not really fair. It's like an in-between win for the Miz. The Miz is your Intercontinental Champion, and he's being used for a storyline for basically Sheamus and the Big Show. I feel sorry for the Miz right now. I would have liked it if they allowed him to win it by a pinfall or maybe a submission or a sneak win. At least then he would get a more better rub. But having him win by technical, it really felt a bit empty. But it does make it more interesting between Sheamus and Big Show because still neither one of them is touching one another. And then when the Big Show faced Tensai and the reverse happened, and I also wish to say that for Miz, he got a bit of a pop again, as well as Tensai, which was a surprise. I didn't think they would do a pop for Tensai. Of course, people think that the Big Show's much more better heel than him, but I heard more than a few people pop for Tensai, so I'm thinking, if they give Tensai a chance, and Mr. Ralph is a big Tensai fan, dude, I can honestly say, I can understand what you're saying about Tensai. There could still be something there. And maybe if they start hitting him as a face, we may see if he can actually pull it off. I don't ever remember Sir Albert or A-Train ever being a face. Let's see what happens if they try to turn him face. Then get him prominently featured at least a couple of times just to see if it's possible. I don't think they'll do it, especially Sakamoto wasn't there. Maybe they got rid of Sakamoto and now let Tensai come out on his own. But I have this strange feeling, if they turn Tensai face now, we might actually get something interesting. I could still be wrong though, ladies and gentlemen, but this is just my opinion. Finally, we have the CM Punk Dolph Ziggler match. I would have liked it if there had been some type of count-out or some type of disqualification. You have two guys who basically, they both have very good skills in the ring. And a lot of people can say Dolph Ziggler, he doesn't have skills in the ring. They're not pushing him. Look, he's a good enough of a wrestler that he jobs well enough that people like how he jobs. He sells it very well. And in this match, Dolph looked very good until pretty much CM Punk beats him. And I also wish to say, when they were both on the top rope and they both splattered on the ground, it looked a bit painful. The ref had to come and check CM Punk because he hit the ground really hard, especially when he hit the ring first before hitting the floor. So, still CM Punk won it, but it would have been better if Dolph had DQ'd or counted out. It would have made Dolph look a little more interesting and still kept CM Punk the way he is. He's still a very great champion who's still dying for respect. And his promo afterward, still saying no, makes me think by the last show, the go-home show, either Smackdown or Raw that week, he'll probably say yes. Unless there's really something going on. We see Tensai again. If we continually see, not Tensai, sorry, Ryback again. I don't know why I said Tensai. I actually hope Tensai turns face, I guess. But essentially, with Ryback, and this is the end of the show, so I'm going to say this about Ryback before I give my, what I think the show is rated. I believe with Ryback that if Ryback is taking over for John Cena because of injury, and I believe John Cena is more injured than we think, if he's not going into Hell in a Cell with CM Punk, Ryback will be forced to go in there early. I don't believe Ryback's even ready. But the point of the matter is this. If basically John Cena's just not able to wrestle, Ryback's going to take his place. And if John Cena does wrestle, within the first couple of months afterwards, I still believe Ryback is going to be challenging CM Punk. By either the end of this year, possibly from the last two pay-per-views, the next one will be Survivor Series, and I think the next one after that is TLC. But essentially, if I'm right, Ryback, either in Survivor Series coming up, after Hell in a Cell, or TLC, is going to be challenging CM Punk if he's still basically champion. And that's how I see it. How do I rate this show? Way better than Raw. Raw for me was a D, and it was bordering on F. But I still left it as a D. This one is clearly a C+ show. Clearly. It's not a B show or A show, it's a C+. Because we did get a good amount of matches. The backstages were not that heavy. And we got some very interesting interaction where basically Sheamus and Big Show did not touch each other. This is something, ladies and gentlemen, we don't see often anymore. Usually the WWE makes their faces and heels fight one another, and basically the face always gets over on the heel. In this case, no one's gotten over on each other physically. Verbally, it's a little different, where you basically hear the commentators, and Josh Matthews and Michael Cole did a good, decent job this way. I can't tell what Michael Cole is he a face or a heel? It looks like he's jumping back and forth. But taking away from that, physically, they're not touching each other, which is a nice, refreshing difference. Doesn't mean it's greater than what they had years ago, but I can tell you right now, it's way better than what they've been doing the last 6 months. Well better. So I'll give it a C+ rating. And also, the last thing I wish to say, if Michelle McCool is coming back, which would make some sense for the Divas Championship while Layla lost, I hope I'm right, but I still think Eve is going to try and become the head of Smackdown. This is what I believe, if things keep going. Well, this is my Zane's view. Subscribe and comment. I'm sorry this is a little late. I've been very busy. If you wanted to see my video to the Schlegdaddy about his loss, and I really hope people see his Impact review about what happened with Feisty, his cat, and give him a comment, kind of helping him, because it does hurt losing someone that you love very much. And I wouldn't mind people just saying something for him, because I'm a cat person myself. I lost a cat about a year or so ago, and it feels very hard when you lose someone you love very much. So you have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.